Howdy folks, Bluesboyjag here. This is a license plate cigar box guitar from 1936. Well, the license plate's from 1936 anyway. That's an Arkansas license plate, all beat up. And that is a humbucker pickup right in the middle of it. 3-string. I make a whole ton of the license plate cigar box guitars. And I go to the local thrift stores and flea markets and whatnot to see what they've got. From time to time you pick up some really old ones. This one is so old the paint has basically worn off of it. So I kind of smoothed it out a little bit and sanded it down, and I sprayed a whole bunch of polyurethane on top, make it look nice and shiny. Signed and numbered on the back. That little doohickey right there allows you to raise or lower the strings by loosening or tightening that bolt right there. Pulls the neck down just a little bit, maybe 1/4 of an inch or so, which is enough to make the strings much higher off the fretboard or much closer depending on which direction you take that screw. So if you want to play fingerstyle, you can lower the strings down pretty low. If you want to play slide, you can raise them up, or if you want them right in between, which is where I have them, you can play both slide or fingerstyle. Beautiful box. I also weight all my cigar box guitars, so I put some wood back here so it hangs like this when you've got the strap and you're on stage instead of like that. It also really helps with the sustain. This is a pretty heavy wood box to begin with, so with the weight added to it, it's pretty heavy for a cigar box guitar, which means you'll get amazing sustain. I use bolts for bridges and bolts for nuts. I've been doing that since 2005. And this one does not need to be compensated, does not need to be angled. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. You just never know. But it is perfectly intonated all the way up the neck. I'm very picky about that. For those of you who play fingerstyle and you've got the open droning strings, which you're going to have on an open tune guitar, they have got to be perfectly in tune or they sound horrible. So I play cigar box guitars in my solo act and also with my band, the Juke Joint Zombies. And I tune my guitars the same way. I tune them to open G, and I use a capo to bring them up to A, so they're open tuned. So they have to be intonated perfectly. I have an old bolt here for the strap holders. These are big bolts. They don't look so big here in the video, but they're pretty big. Alright, so I got this cranked out through a 1948 Valco tube amp. This tube amp cranked up pretty loud. It's probably about a 10 watt or so old-timey tube amp, so it's got a nice growl to it. A lot of the cleaner amps, like say a Fender Twin or just you name it, just billions of different amps out there, you probably want to use a distortion pedal to get that grind that you hear here. If you want it to be clean, which a lot of people want to have that more clean sound, then you're good to go. Some amps have the built-in distortion. You just kind of flip over the switch and you got that distortion. Or you can use a whole slew of different pedals. I use a blues driver. Your mileage may vary. Experiment. There's billions of them. I mean billions and billions. Just take your pick, experiment, see what you get. This particular amp has no bass or treble controls. It's the old-timey, just one volume knob. That's all it is. So what you're hearing is a little bit too bassy for my taste. Just for me, I would use an equalizer for this setup, since this amp is a 1948 and they don't have the volume I mean the tone controls on it. But for any amp made from 1950 on up, 1955, I mean Fenders, everything since then has a tone control, bass, treble, sometimes mid, sometimes present. So you've got a whole slew of different tonal options, and these things sound incredible pumped out through a tube amp. They sound incredible through a solid state amp. I've got a little what is it, a Roland Street Cube amp. It's got an electric guitar setting, it's got a crunchy electric guitar setting, it's got a clean guitar setting, it's got an acoustic guitar setting, and it sounds amazing through that amp. All these cigar box guitars, as long as you've got a distortion pedal if you want to get it cranked up, or you've got built-in distortion if you want to get that cranked up slide sound. Here's an example of some overdriven slide. There you go, folks. 1936 Arkansas license plate cigar box guitar by Bluesboyjag. Once again, thanks for watching and thanks for your kind support.